Hello and welcome to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith and today we head to Anderstorp in Sweden. We are getting into the second half of the season now and points are more vital than ever as we look towards upgrade windows and those championship battles as well. As ever, we're going to start off with League 2, so let's remind ourselves of what the drivers and team standings look like. In the drivers, Ryo Hirakawa leads the way in the Toyota, 103 points for the Japanese driver, 7 ahead of Pato O'Ward in the Ram, he is on 96. Nick De Vries puts both Toyotas into the top 3 on 93 points. Roman Grosjean and Colton Herta, the two spikers in the top 5 on 87 and 82 points respectively. Felix Rosenqvist, our defending champion, also on 82 points in 6th place. Yeye 7th in the Prema on 75 ahead of Gabriele Mini on 51. Luke Browning on 36 and Igor Fraga propping up the top 10 on 35 points. And in the teams, Toyota with a bit of a comfortable cushion at the moment, but shouldn't be thinking about that title just yet, still a few more races left to go. Michael Gillespie's team on 196 points, ahead of Spiker Ben Hackison's team on 169 points. Ram Racing is third on 141, ahead of 40 Corsa on 112. Prema on 102, Bimota KRT on 73, Simtek on 69, Opel on 49, Mazda on 35, Iron Dames on 29, and then propping up the field, Chip Ganassi on 23, M Sports on 16, and Zach Speed also on 16. They've not had too many successes, those teams at the bottom, so they'll be hoping to play for pride in the last few rounds of the season. There is still plenty of opportunity for them to get themselves further up the scoreboard. Well, we have no driver changes for today's League 2 race, so let's get straight to the qualifying results and see who will start where. And at the front, it is Ryo Hirakawa, the Japanese driver's maiden pole position in the Grand Prix World Series. His teammate Nick De Vries has been the benchmark in qualifying, but Hirakawa finally gets his first ever pole position in the Grand Prix World Series. He is less than half a tenth of a second ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, who joins him on the front row. Pato O'Ward, one of our championship contenders, is third, and Antonio Giovinazzi putting both 40 quarters into the top 4. Brilliant job from Dave Goddard's team. Daniel Kvyat fifth in the Opel ahead of Nick De Vries and a Toyota. 6th place isn't too bad, but De Vries I'm sure will be disappointed with that, given where he is usually qualified this season. Roman Grosjean 7th in the Spiker ahead of Kakunishin Ota in the Simtek, and then Nick Cassidy and Colton Herta on row 5. 11th is Loic Duval in the second Opel ahead of Scott McLaughlin and Mazda, and then the other McLaughlin of Finn 13th in the Simtek, Earl Bamber 14th in the Chip Ganassi ahead of the two Premas of Yeye and Tomoki Najiri. Gabriele Mini qualifies 17th but takes a 10-place grid drop, so will line up at the back for today's race. Conor Zilic 18th in the Ram ahead of Ayumu Iwasa and Joseph Newgarden, and at the back Dorian Pan, Sharma Lacey, Steph Dusseldorp, Leonardo Fornaroli, Jamie Chadwick and Philippe Salaquada taking up his usual qualifying position in 26th and last. So Anderstorp has produced exciting racing in the past. Will it deliver once again here in Season 6? Let's get straight to it and hand over to Tom Cairns, ready and waiting in the commentary box. So Tom, let's get this one underway.
Ryo Hirakawa on pole for the first time this season. Can he extend his lead at the top over the likes of Pato O'Ward, Nick De Vries and co. Here in Anderstorp. The 5 lights are coming on now when the extinguisher will go racing here in lead 2. Lights are on. Lights off, it's go! Hirakawa is away well. What about Pato O'Ward in second place? It looks like he's just got in front of Felix Rosenqvist around the outside, in fact. Just about, but I think the 40 has kept hold of second place. And he remains where he is there. So Hirakawa remains in the lead ahead of Rosenqvist. O'Ward in third place. It's Nick De Vries in fourth position. And it's Daniel Kvyat in fifth place. And it's Kakunishin Ota in sixth place. And it's Antonio Giovinazzi, Roman Grosjean, Scott McLaughlin, who swapped places with Nick Cassidy as Cassidy moves up to ninth position. So Anderstorp hosting its second ever event in the Grand Prix Series. The League 2 race in Season 4 as the field continues to dice it out around the first lap. Just 8 corners around the circuit if you were to exclude the kinks on this back straight. And then we look at Roman Grosjean on the attack with Antonio Giovinazzi to the outside. Almost on the grass there was the Frenchman, but he has somehow made it work. And up into 7th position goes the Frenchman. Colton Herter is having issues at the moment as he continues to drop back down the order. This is not a pleasing sight for Ben Hackerson by any means, but Herter is back on the inside of what looks like Tomic Nigeria. Herter is down to 14th position, in fact. So he is in need of a change of fortune at the moment after a disappointing event at Hockenheim. And there goes De Vries on Rosenqvist for 2nd position. It's now a Toyota 1 and 2. Callum Eilert won this race in the League 2 event 2 seasons back. The League 1 race was won by the HRT of Scott McLaughlin. No one has ducked into the pit lane at the end of that first lap, which is great news. There you see Rosenqvist in 3rd place now. The drivers continue to have it around this second lap. Cassidy through on Giovinazzi for 8th position. Cassidy having a better race for once. With De Vries posting the new fast lap of the race whilst running in 2nd place. And that's a move from Cassidy on Ota almost. Cassidy surely must be on a lighter fuel load compared to those because he's showing some blistering pace in the early stages. Felix Rosenqvist, twice a podium finisher this season for 40, sitting in 6th position in the Drivers' Championship on a run of 4 consecutive points finishes. And Roman Grosjean has found himself up in 5th place now at the expense of Pato O'Ward. Grosjean is a man on the move. But what about O'Ward? Because he is in need of a change in fortune at the moment. He had a really shocking outing in Hockenheim last time out. You can just see how much De Vries is closing in on Hirakawa. I'll be interested to know if there's a difference in strategies between the pair. There goes Giovinazzi on Cassidy for 8th. A good pass from the Italian. He did not have a good showing at Hockenheim, which brought an end to his run of 3 consecutive points finishes. Yearfeet, who had finished in all of the first 8 races this season, has failed to finish in the last 2. Sean Malace is the first driver to come in for a pit stop, and that will be for repairs, unfortunately, at the end of lap 3. And there goes Cassidy on Giovinazzi again. So there's actually a squabble going on between the Mazda and the 40. Look at Rosenqvist in P3. Kvyat is 4th. Hoping to bring an end to 3 consecutive non-finishers for him. Opel are on a barren run of form at the moment as well. In their first season in the Grand Prix Series, they failed to finish with either of their cars in the last 3 rounds. There goes Bamber on Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi is continuing to drop back down the order. Hertz is down in 15th place now. I'd imagine he may well be on the 1 stop, which is conceivable around this racetrack. So a chance for us to run down on the setups. Simtek are the only team running the maximum downforce setup. Those running the mid downforce are 40, Mazda, Opel, Amber Motor. All the others, including Zach Speed, Chip Ganassi, Iron Danes, Toyota, Ram, Prema, Spiker and M-Sport are all running the neutral setup. Hirakawa remaining in the lead as he was on pole. Oh, De Vries is ahead of him now, actually. So De Vries has passed Hirakawa for the lead on lap number 5, and I think it was coming all along, judging by De Vries' pace. But that's an important move in the race so far, and Hirakawa has not really fought that one, so he lets De Vries go. Yearfy passing Scott McLaughlin for 11th place. Yearfy started 15th and is now up into 11th spot, so quietly making his way through the field. Now Anderstorp last hosted Formula 1 way back in 1978. There's no signs of it returning to the calendar anytime soon, considering the competition for places. There's Rosenquist in P3 again. 40 have had a season to remember so far. By far their best ever season in the Grand Prix series. Fourth in the team's championship, 29 points off the promotion places. Toyota and Spiker, I think, are destined for promotion this season. It's just a matter of whether Ram will go up with them as well, who sit in third position comfortably ahead of 40. Kind of drop back a little bit in the race. But motor downwards, they don't look like realistically competing for that. So I think we're looking at 3 from 5 to go up from League 2 to League 1, which will pave the way for the bottom 3 teams in League 1 to head on down. We've got the League 1 race to come up later, so please do not go anywhere. Out of 20 races we've had this season, 14 drivers have stood on the top step. De Vries and Hirakawa are of course 2 of them. Rosenquist is not one of them. Kvyat isn't one of them either, and he's just passed Rosenquist for 3rd place. So good pass there from the former F1 driver who raced for Red Bull and Toro Rosso stroke AlphaTauri. Feels like a long time ago now since he was in that. He's now a sports car driver these days. And there we see Connor Sillage on the inside of the Mazda there. That has to be Scott McLaughlin because Nick Cassidy is further up the field in 7th position. He's ahead of Kukunish and Ota. Further back, that is Yuma Iwaza passing the Kiwi. We expect the first round of stops to begin at round about something like lap 19 or 18. So we've still got a bit to go yet before we get to that stage. And we have our first retirement of the race, and it is Jamie Chadwick on lap number 8. She's pulled off at turn number 5. It's been another day to forget for Jamie. That's her 5th non-finish of the season so far. Suspension problems that have forced her out. It was behind Herta in the battle for 15th. There's Ota fighting it out with Cassidy for P7. He goes on through. That's backs Cassidy into the group, headed up by Earl Bamber and Antonio Giovinazzi. The 2 Premers further apart from each other actually, 2.5 seconds between them, Yearfy and Tommy Kinijiri. Toyota sit top of the table on 196 points, 27 clear over second place Spiker. They are currently 84 points clear over 4th place 40. They could wrap up promotion with 2 or 3 races to spare depending on how the next half a dozen races go. look at Nick de Vries. He took a very, very comfortable win at Hockenheim, which moved him on to 6 wins, tying with Sebastian Buemi, Sean Vernon, Shane van Gisbergen. Now he's casting Ota once again, swapping places over at turn number 3. Victory for de Vries will be his 3rd of the season. It'll be Toyota's 5th in their entirety. This is only their 2nd season. Remember, they finished rock bottom in the League 2 Teams Championship in season 5. There's a pass from El Bamba on the Simtek of Ota. Bamba did come away with a championship point at Hockenheim. He came very close to a podium as well before retiring at Donington. And there he was through on Thea McLaughlin for 15th place. Now we look at Hirakawa in P2. 2.5 seconds off the leader. He's continuing to pull away. And looking further back down the order, that's Gabriele Mini, who started at the back of the grid after a grid drop they had to serve for an incident he was involved in at Hockenheim. Hirakawa, who finished 2nd here 2 seasons back in the League 2 event behind his then teammate Callum Ilott. He's a move from Colin Silic, who had a fantastic debut for the Ram team in place of Igor Fraga. On his way to 5th place overall. Board again with Gabriele Mini, with Leo Fornarelli and Philip Salaquada next behind. Fornarelli participated in the Goodwood Festival Speed recently. He even had a demo run in the McLaren, Lando Norris's McLaren. Is pretty static, I would say, certainly in the top 6. Cassidy's pulling away from Bamba, who's still having it out with Ota and Yifi. 12 laps have now been completed, and then we look at Lloyd Javal on the attack, passing the Simtek of Thea McLaughlin for 16th place at the penultimate turn. Who has finished on the podium this season at Sebring in the Grand Prix of the Americas. After Anderstorp, we go to Mugello for the Grand Prix of Europe, which will be the last European round of the season. It's off to Hanoi in Vietnam. Series will compete at for the first time, and it's off to Sepang, Malaysia, Buriram, Thailand, and then we go to another Japanese location in Motegi. That'll be the venue for the Grand Prix of Asia, and then we've got the last 2 championship rounds in the Oceania continent, Phillip Island in Australia and Manawatu, New Zealand for the finale. Once the championship races are up, we then go to Macau for the non-championship Macau Grand Prix event, involving the 13 highest scoring teams across the 2 leagues. Toyota, Spiker and Ram are bound to be there for sure. Gap is now 3.3 3 seconds over De Vries and Hirakawa, and it's retirement for Scott McLaughlin. And the rear wing and the front wing came off, and that was just as he bounced over the grass with some form of mechanical gremlins. And it's the Kiwis' day done. And it's a gearbox failure that's forced him to retire. And Sean Malaysia goes past. At least it's one less car for him to make his way through after having to pit in for repairs at the end of lap number 3. As they are, De Vries will close down the gap to just 3 points on Ryo Hirakawa with 7 races to go. Pato O'Ward will drop down to 3rd place. To get Opel's first ever, well, second ever podium in the Grand Prix Series, their first campaign under the eyes of Topher Smith. That is Hertha through on Nigiri for 13th at turn 4. It's a good pass there from Hertha, but he's well down from where we would expect him to be. He surely must be on the 1 stop. There's too much time being stuck in the traffic. Toyota's continuing on. Now we look at Connor Silic, who's been passed here, I think. No, he's just overtaken Giovinazzi around the outside on the back straight. And that is the American through on the Italian for P11. Far away from the first round of stops now. It's business as usual for Toyota. They have celebrated 1-2 finishes twice this season. They love to bag number 1 here in Sweden. Two retirements so far. Scott McLaughlin and Jamie Chadwick are the ones going no further. 24 drivers still running, including Sean Malaysia, who's just under 16 seconds off Philip Saliquada. We've got our first scheduled stop of the race, and it's over at Toyota. Race leader Nick De Vries comes in for his first stop. Hirakawa takes over at the head of the pack, whilst we see Iwaza go through on Nigiri 4 position. More activity as we've got Felix Rosenquist in, we've got El Bamba in, and Yuma Iwaza has decided to make his way in. De Vries' pit stop has left him out in 10th place behind Antonio Giovinazzi. In second position, 5 seconds off the lead after De Vries came in. What about Hirakawa? Is he coming in at the end of this lap, or is he staying out though? Tell you what, lap 16 was quite early, I would say, for De Vries to come in. As he was running that light on fuel at the start. Danny Kvyat is now in from second position for Opel. Grosjean up to second place, and Iwasa, after just pitting, has come to a slowdown on the back straight. And that is the Japanese driver's day over. Over the barrier, and out goes the Bimota. More pit stops happening, including over at Irondanes. Dorian Pan came in for her first stop of the race. Going with Mini, he has Phyllis Rosenquist on his tail now. On by, as he is beginning to lose time, considering he's in that battle with Grosjean for fourth position. He's through on Mini now. If he is in, as is Lloyd Chaval. Let's see if Rosenquist has done enough to get on through. I think he's got by Grosjean now. Yes, so Grosjean hasn't actually left the pit lane yet. Is also in for sack speed. There's Hirakawa, and now we look to Newgarden on McLaughlin for 9th place. That's the Chip Ganassi through on that particular occasion. Joseph Newgarden has had a season to forget. Just 2 points finishes all season in a run of 6 races without scoring. Sean Malaysia being passed by Steph Dusseldorp. So in the pit lane, his first stop, De Vries up to second place. Just waiting to see when Hirakawa is going to come in. Oh, that's contact between Grosjean and Fornarelli, and that was a bump to pass overtake, and that'll be a punishment coming in the way of the Frenchman. Yeah, that's slam dunk penalty for the Spiker driver. He was not alongside the 40 by any means. The 40 does not quite go back ahead into turn 1. Grosjean, I think, will be hit with a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points on his licence. Now you need 12 for a race ban. Grosjean came into this with no penalty points to his name, so those are his first in the so-called 12-month period. Those points don't expire until round 10 of next season. Then we look at Rosenquist. Through on Newgarden, and that's a pit stop over at Simte. Oto is in. As is Newgarden. Hour 57. This Anderstorp circuit. .0 kilometres in total on this 8-turn racetrack. And now we've got a pit stop over at Toyota. Hirakawa comes in from the lead, and De Vries will go ahead. 5 laps. The gap between the pit stops. So Hirakawa no doubt will have more tyre grip before heading into the second round of stops. Nick Cassidy is in as well for Mazda. Now, Pato O'Ward has yet to stop in this race, as has Colton Herta. There through Sodra, and this is over at the Hansen Curven left-hander. We'll see Hirakawa off his pit stop running in P3, 16 seconds behind Nick de Vries. Stuck to the rear of Sean Lacey, I believe, or it might be Leo Fornaroli. This is a long queue of cars now, headed up by Tomoki Najiri. There's Antonio Giovinazzi, Connor Sillage, Kukunishi Ota, and then Lloyd Javal. You should see a Sumdog overtake here from rear Hirakawa, because now he's headed on by Pato O'Ward, is yet to stop in this race. And there's the advantage with the tyre grip. Just about gets it slowed down. Still his 23rd lap. Kvyat, who was running in 4th place before the pit stops, had been jumped. Well, he's not been jumped, but he's been passed now by Rosenqvist. Once O'Ward and Herta come in for their stops, which will be their only ones of the race, Rosenqvist will move up into a podium position unless Kvyat has something to say on that, which he does, and goes back through. Now in sector 2, for the gap to come down between de Vries and Hirakawa, it was 15.2 in sector 1. The gap now is 14.9, so 3 tenths taken out of de Vries' margin in that last sector alone. And de Vries, O'Ward, who's running a quiet P3, has got some space to himself compared to the group that are chasing him down, headed up by Herta, who is yet to stop. There's Albon on the inside of the Opel. That is Bamba on Kvyat. Kvyat will have the inside line for the next corner though. Gets back ahead of Bamba. There is Grosjean in there as well. Yiffy also joining the party. There's the man, second place in the championship coming into this. He's running a ball with Dorian Pan. He's hoping to restore some pride for Iron Dames. points in the last 6 races for them. Pan hasn't scored since Petrello de los Funes. Yuffie has just passed Roman Grosjean for 8th place after a mistake from Grosjean at the penultimate turn. And now we look at Hirakawa to Nick Cassidy, who has stopped in this race, has passed Finn McLaughlin for position. See Hirakawa in P2. Further back there is Dusseldorf going through on McLaughlin. But Kvyat has been punted there by Roman Grosjean. So after Yuffie got by him and Bamber, Grosjean has already got a penalty in this race. For a move. Wasn't quite there. I don't think any action will be taken on that one. It's not going to be taking any, which I think is the correct decision. Rosenqvist in 5th place. Yuffie to his left-hand side. The Premier does not go through on this occasion. Now we've got a pit stop over at Spiker. Colton Hertz is in. And as high as 4th before the stops. He's going to fall towards the back of the pack. He's going to leave himself a lot of work to do between now and the end of the race. P11, a good run. Second Nelson in this championship. Failed to finish in the first one at Hockenheim. Scott McLaughlin and Jamie Chadwick are the only drivers out of the race so far. 23 still running. Sean Malasey running at the back, 23rd and last place. There's Silic going by Kvyat for 8th. That's the Ram going through on the Opel at the end of the penultimate turn. And Grosjean is next to be lined up. And that is Joseph Newgarden, whose season continues to get worse. That is the Chip Ganassi, also out of the race just before half race distance. Not a good sight for Kieran McGinley. Only once this season has he seen both of his drivers make it to the checkered flag. Today, twice actually, just to correct myself. It's not going to be 3 times today. Came into this 11th in the team standings. Only M Sport and Sack Speed have picked up less points than them. See for this race, of course, the reigning Grand Prix Series champion. As there you see, was that Silic going into the pit lane? No, it was O'Ward. Sorry, it's O'Ward who's coming for his only stop at the end of lap 28. Now, with all the group of cars fighting amongst each other, there is a chance for O'Ward to maybe come away with a podium position, but that's a big, big if. Coming down to 11.8 seconds between De Vries and Hirakawa. seconds. The margin in sector 2. Probably going to be something like 11.1. It is 11.1. De Vries has lapped his first back marker. He won't need to lap Stef Dusseldorp, whose engine has also expired. It's been a horrible season so far, really, for Zach Speed and for Chris Hosey. There'll be 3 non-finishers in a row for the Dutchman. It's past the pit lane and it's game over, unfortunately. On lap 30, it's game over for Steph. He pulls to the side of the racetrack. Through the butt marker, De Vries did lose time. The gap is now coming down to 10.1. Further back we can see Kvyat going side by side here with Rosenqvist. That is the Opel through into P7. Long queue of cars headed up by Yifei all the way back to Kikuchi Oto in 13th. We see El Bamba in 4th place. He was one of the earlier stoppers, but Silic has other ideas, and Silic is through into 4th. Bamba locking up in front of Grosjean. Fiat, Rosenqvist, Duval and Majiri are next behind. Grosjean to the outside of Bamba. And Grosjean nearly got it done, but Bamba just had enough speed to hold him back. Goes Hirakawa lapping Sean Malaysia. Next driver for Hirakawa to lap will be Phil McLaughlin. That's an overtake from Grosjean on Bamba. Grosjean needs to get that move done considering the penalty he's got hanging over him. We see Leo Fornarelli in 18th position in the M Sport. Sean Malaysia comes in for his final stop of the race. There's Kvyat, Bamba. Into P6. Yifei is almost about to come into lap Sean Malaysia, who's just pitted, but I think Malaysia will be on better tyres compared to Bamba. So it might not be not Bamba, Yifei. Now we see Herta going by Gabriele Mini. The one stoppers going on by. He's got some clear track ahead now as Hertz, so he can use that to just get the hammer down a little bit more now. Rescue his race at the very best, looking at P3. Giovinazzi been overtaken by Nick Cassidy. The only Mazda left in the race in this. There's Yiffy doing the best he can to hold off the rest of those behind, including Silic. 6.2 seconds the gap now between De Vries and Hirakawa. You can see how much the back markers are affecting the Toyota pair, which underlines how much of a league of their own they're in. Sector 1, it's come down to 5.7, and there we look at Giovinazzi again with Cassidy over 11th place. That's a pass from Rosenquist on Bamber for 8th. The two Opels have managed to get themselves up there in P6 and P7, so that will be good news for Topher Smith. But the race is far from done yet. It's also a move from Ota on Giovinazzi for 12th. Now we've got a pit stop. This time at Toyota, De Vries is in. Hirakawa stayed out 5 laps longer in the first round of stops. How far will he go in the second? The good news for them is that they're so far ahead of the third place driver Yiffy that De Vries will come out in second position. Hirakawa will be getting the hammer down now. He won't want to leave it too long because he will be encountering back markers. Having said that, he will want to get all the benefit from the tyres after his last stop. Just 22 laps to go. And this leads to Anderstorp Grand Prix, round 11. Of the 6th edition of the Grand Prix series. Do get involved in the live chat if you ever so wish to do. Keep the conversation going. Do make sure you like and subscribe as well. Well, Hirakawa has decided he didn't want to wait another lap. He's coming in at the end of lap 36, a lap after De Vries came in. Now Hertz has caught up to the traffic now, which is not necessarily good news for him, because he will want a lot of these to be going in for their second stops now. Hirakawa rejoins in second place behind De Vries, but at least he's on a lap fresher tyres compared to his Dutchman. Hertz through on Giovinazzi into 11th place. We see Malaysia having a tough time in the M Sport. Javal and Gabriele Mini decided to go in for their final stops. And there is the gap, 5.4 seconds between the Toyota Giro. He's over the line. Himiko won't be too far back. The race was to finish as it is now, considering that Grosjean has that penalty hanging over him, which will cost him, well, it'll drop him out of the points as it stands. Hertz will go up into the points, so as you can see, Cassidy and Bamber, by the looks of it, both heading in. We'll come back to the points permutations at the moment a little bit later, because we've got more pit lane activity happening right now. There goes Javel on Salaquada. That was a slam dunk pass, really, for the Frenchman. 5.3 seconds is the margin between De Vries and Hirakawa. See some back markers coming out of the pit lane, which will hamper the Toyota's cause. I think they are so far in front of the rest, but that's the problem when you're leading out so far ahead that you are bound to catch up to the traffic. Grosjean in for Spiker. Silic on his way to a podium position in his second Grand Prix Series race. The NASCAR driver taking the opportunity by storm. Motor and Giovinazzi are the latest to come into the pit lane. They'll fall out of the top 15. Lucy Bassendale's team can pack up early here, because Gabriele Mini's torrid run of form continues, and a gearbox failure has forced him to retire from the race. Parking over the barrier on the far side. There's going to be no points again for promoter. Kafia, Rosenquist and Nigiri are the next group of drivers to head on in for their last stops. Hertz is now up in 4th position. Grosjean gets by Pan on the pit straight. Stands Grosjean will fall out of the points, so he needs to use the clear track to just stretch out the margin as much as possible. This is damage limitation time for the Spiker team. There's nothing they can do about the Toyotas at all. Surge pits for the last time, which promotes Colton Hertz up into 3rd position. But he will be on older tyres compared to the most. But with all this squabbling going on at the moment, that might help Hertz's cause. Silic is in, Pan is in. I think there may have been some contact involving Bamber and Kafia at the end of the back straight. I think that was just a double pass actually from Bamber, and if it was, that's a sensational double overtake. Silic gets out in P7 ahead of the group, which is good news for Ram. Hirakawa is getting the gap down ever so slightly on De Vries. But it's still not enough to do anything to reduce the deficit, really. There goes Kafia on Bamba. Continuing to swap places, those two. As they have been all race, really. Now, before this race is over, there's no doubt that De Vries and Hirakawa are going to catch up to this long queue of traffic. Ward in P4 on the one stop. So got Yuffie, who's already pitted for the last time, on the two stop. So possibly Yuffie could go up into a podium position. There goes Yuffie on the inside of O'Ward, and Yi is through. A good pass from the Chinese driver. Head up into P4. His teammate Tom Cairns is outside the top 15 as we speak. 16th. It's Leo Fornarelli we're riding on board with. Hasn't exactly had the best of races either. There's Hertz in P3, but that is very much tenuous at the moment, with Yuffie closing him down all the time. There goes Najiri on the outside there. That's a great pass on Thea McLaughlin. Giovinazzi making a mistake at the last turn, but getting away with it. Gap over the line between the Toyotas is 4.7 seconds. Now, with all the stops completed now, the gap will be down to 3 points between De Vries and Hirakawa. The board will drop to P3. Grosjean's time penalty will drop him to 12th as it stands. There goes Yi on the spiker, passing Herta, and that's a good pass. And unfortunately for Conor Silic, he's had to come in with some form of mechanical issue. His hopes of a podium are gone now, just as it was at Hockenheim 3 weeks ago. That unscheduled stop for Silic just dropped him behind Fornaroli in 17th. So much more as well. Because he's on grippier tyres, he's closing in on Hirakawa, so Hirakawa may be reluctant to let Silic go through here. Then we see Bamba with Kafia again. Or Javal, sorry. Bamba through into P8 ahead of the Frenchman, with O2 and Cassidy waiting in the wings. De Vries is coming up to lap Thea McLaughlin, while Silic is on the tail of Hirakawa to unlap. which is not going to help Hirakawa's cause by any means. Ota overtakes Javel on the inside at turn number 4. And the Japanese is doing to 9th position, hoping for more points on top of what he's already bagged this season. There'll be 3 9th places in his opening 4 races in the Grand Prix series. And there is De Vries putting a lap on McLaughlin. Silic should get by Hirakawa on the backstroke with the grippier tyres. Watch Hirakawa as he lets Silic go through here. I think he's done the right thing there, Hirakawa, so all he needs to do is just follow Silic between now and the end. The gap has gone back up to 5 seconds. Laps remaining in the lead to Anderstorp Grand Prix. As it stands, Toyota will be coming away with maximum points, just as they did in Hockenheim. That's Grosjean passing Herta for 4th place on the road, but the Frenchman still has that time penalty. So he needs to pull away from Herta as much as he can here if he's to keep hold of the place. He's got 11 laps to do it, so he's got enough time. So it's to the outside of Fornaroli. Oh, he almost pulled it off there, but couldn't quite do so. He'll most likely do it on the pit straight. So this passes Fornaroli. He might line up a move here on the Simtek of McLaughlin. Next turn he does. So Silic is picking them off one by one at the moment. Hirakawa comes up to lap Fornaroli. It'll be McLaughlin next. Well, this is where the Japanese starts to lose time. Take from the M spot on the Simtek now as well, from Fornaroli on Theo McLaughlin for 16th. Barry Yiffy on course for another podium finish, which will be his 4th podium of the season. The first time he's finished 3rd in a race this campaign. Stands with the way things are, let's say Grosjean does finish 4th in this race, with Herta 5th. Spiker will be getting 22 championship points, with Toyota getting the maximum of 45. Which will put Toyota 241. Spiker will be on 191. The gap will be 50 points between those two teams heading to Mugello. Rosenquist up passes Bamber for P10. Ram, we've only got O'Ward up there in 7th place. They'll collect 6 championship points. 40 are only getting just the 1 at the moment. Well, Prema, of course, for 15. Which was, Ram will move on to 147, 40, 113. And Prema leapfrog the Italian team up into 4th place on 117. Motor won't be scoring again, neither will be Simtek. Opel having a better day. Juvali's outside of the points, Kvyat running up there in P6. But they're not going to be leapfrogging Simtek or Bimota. Toyota, as it stands, will be 124 points clear over 4th place Prema, strengthening their place in League One for next season. And out goes the second sack speed of Philip Salaquada. That is the 7th driver to retire. And it's no points again for Chris Hosey. And a puncher has forced him off the racetrack. He was at the back anyway. He'll be happy to look back. Happy to look at the back of this one. 5.3 seconds is the gap between De Vries and Hirakawa. Oh, you can just see the gaggle of traffic, and Giovinazzi and Bamba make contact. They both got away with it. Giovinazzi went for a move. Bamba kept hold of the position. Had he not, and Giovinazzi had got by, that would have been a penalty, I think, going in the way of the 40, but luckily not. Now, Javal's got ahead of the Italian. Nearly has a Nigerian. You can just see De Vries closing in. That's Conor Silic, who's continuing to make up ground. Now, Grosjean has made up the time on Herta, so that 10-second time penalty will not drop him down any positions. Herta has done a terrific job holding up the field to favour his teammate. Silic hasn't unlapped himself from De Vries yet, but he's bound to very, very soon. Oh, he's on a spin though! De Vries is off! At turn number 4, he got distracted by Conor Silic, who tried to unlap him. And Nick De Vries has thrown the race win away. Through into the lead goes Ryo Hirakawa. And De Vries' chances of the victory have been vanished. He gets back on the circuit in 2nd place. But Hirakawa is bound to extend his margin in the championship. There goes Nigiri on Bamba at turn 1. It's a quality move there. To go up into P11, just outside the points now. You can see that Pato O'Ward has dropped down to 8th position. And as an engine blowout, that'll be for Kunichi Ota in the closing stages. It was running in the points up until then. It's a terrible shame for Simtek. We're in need of points at the moment. Oh, he just got tapped a little bit there by the 40 of Antonio Giovinazzi by the looks of things. The car is on fire and he will not be going any further in this one. He pulls off in the same spot as where Philip Salaquada retired not too long ago. Ward has dropped down to 9th position. for Ram, who could be set for no points here, but Connor Silic on the fresher tyres is making his way through the field. He's got time to just basically pick these off. Wall is now down to 10th place behind Tommy Kinnichiri. Ram are really struggling at the moment. And De Vries slows! After throwing away the lead, Nick De Vries has come to a slowdown in the Toyota! Four laps remaining, and it's the end of the road for the Dutchman. Golden opportunity missed to close down on Rita Hirakawa in the title race. Hirakawa can have a free run to the checkered flag as we see Silic go by Javel for position. Yearfield will go up into second place and Roman Grosjean will be up to third. Now, Yearfeet started the race from 15th on the grid. A great drive from the Chinese driver. And Grosjean's just over 4 seconds off him, but I don't think Grosjean's going to do anything about him here. Now, the trouble for Hirakawa is he's got all these back markers to negotiate. There goes Bamba on O'Ward. How is Hirakawa going to deal with the traffic here? There's Yearfeet in second place, which will be his 4th second place finish of the season. Look at Dorian Pan. Continue on, you never know what can happen in the closing laps of this. There goes Hirakawa lapping Giovinazzi and Javal. Now Silic is stuck behind his teammate Pato O'Ward, and O'Ward will be reluctant to let him go here because O'Ward is up there in the standings, but he's losing time and Silic will just want to get up into the points and Silic goes by him. And Leo Fornarelli retires in the M Sport with only a few laps left. Gearbox failure that's forced him to retire. Grosjean continues to get the gap down on Yearfeet. Rosenquist overtaking Cassidy for 5th place with Kifia up there in 5th. He's on the tail of Herta now, so Herta's chances of holding on to 4th place are increasingly slim. Ward is about to get that. Oh, that's a retirement! Hirakawa's out! Ryu Hirakawa, with 2 laps remaining, has stopped! From the race lead! It's a double disaster for Toyota and for Mike Gillespie! Ryu Hirakawa retires from the lead to Anderstorp Grand Prix on the penultimate lap, which will hand Yearfeet and Toyota Prema a certain victory. Grosjean will go up into second place, and it's going to be a fight for the podium between Herta and Rosenquist, who's just got by Danny Kvyat. There's Javel being overtaken again, this time by Dorian Pan. He had hopes for a lot more from this, did Javel. What an incredible climax to this race. Toyota just completely dominated it all the way through. But reliability issues have just kicked into the machines. And both Hirakawa and De Vries go no further. And that's a fight between Cassidy and Silic for P7. Yiffy has started the final lap of the race. This will be his second race win in this championship. The first coming with Lancia in Campo Grande in Season 5. Didn't expect this kind of fortune from 15th on the grid. Prema are going to taste victory for the first time since suffering relegation last season. Even if Grosjean was to pass Yiffy, the penalty will drop Grosjean back. So all Yiffy needs to do is make no more mistakes. 2 more corners to go through. Yiffy is about to take an unlikely victory here in Sweden. Yiffy wins the League 2 Anderstorp Grand Prix. Prema are back on the top step for the first time in nearly 2 seasons. Romain Grosjean, even with the penalty, will come home in second place. We're looking at the battle for the final podium position. Rosenqvist gets back through on Kvyat for 4th place. Herta on the 1 stop is going to make it 2 podiums for Spiker to close down the gap on Toyota in the team's championship. Rosenqvist 4th, Kvyat 5th, and it's Silic, Najiri, Cassidy, Bamber and O'Ward, the rest of the point scorers. And there's Theo McLaughlin at the back in 14th place, behind Giovinazzi, Pan and Javal. Charles Malaysi will be the last driver to finish. He's had a lonely race, but at least he's made it to the end on the lead lap as the Frenchman. It's a win for Yiffy for the first time this season. Prema come away with the race-winning champagne here in Anderstorp. Romain Grosjean 2nd, even with the penalty. Colin Herta 3rd. Felix Rosenqvist in 4th. Then it's Danica Kvyat, Connor Silic, Tomoki Najiri, Nick Cassidy, El Bamber and Pato O'Ward rounding out the top 10. In 11th place, looking further down the order, we see the likes of Antonio Giovinazzi, Dorian Pan, Lloyd Javal, Theo McLaughlin and Charles Malaysi was the last driver to take the checker flag. Ryo Ricciardo stopped from the lead with 2 laps left. Nick De Vries also out after spinning. Leo Fornaroli and Kukunishin Ota were classified despite not making it to the checker flag. Then we look at the drivers that did not finish the race. Philip Salaquada, Gabriele Mini, Steph Dusseldorp, Joseph Newgarden, Ayumu Waza, Scott McLaughlin and Jamie Chadwick were all those to not finish. The pole position point going to Ryo Hirakawa and the fast lap point going to Nick De Vries. But the jeopardy has kicked in again to Toyota. A 1-2 finish that looked almost certain taken away from them due to mechanical gremlins. A big twist in the title race involving the Toyotas, and that has handed a great chance to Spiker, who close in on the Toyota team. It was 27 points at the beginning of today. Now it is just, to my calculation, 2. Toyota on 198, Spiker in 2nd place with 27 points they've come away with today, or 33 rather. I think Spiker, in fact, move into the lead. So Spiker, as much as we thought Toyota were going to stretch out that margin, Spiker are now in the lead on 202 points. So they're only 4 points clear, but the tables have turned most certainly. In the Drivers' Championship, Ryo Hirakawa and Nick De Vries' point apiece, as well as Pato O'Ward, who got that 10th place finish. Well, that's given the likes of Grosjean and Herta a chance again in the championship race. Yiffy moving on to 100 points. He is now 3 points off Ryo Hirakawa. Grosjean's 2nd place finish has moved him into the lead. How it can all change in a blink of an eye. It's time to run down on the League 2 Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith. We'll be back for the League 1 race very, very shortly.
Well, drama all the way to the end there in the League 2 race. Both Toyotas looking on course for a 1-2 finish, but then falling just short of the line with some late drama there. What a race that was, and it has given Yefe and Prema their first wins of the season. And it's a good day for Spiker as well. Both of their cars on the podium means that it has closed right up in the championship standings. Let's have a look at the standings now, starting off with the drivers. And Roman Grosjean, with his second place today, has moved into the lead of the championship by 1 point over Ryo Hirakawa. 105 points to 104 between those two. Yefe's win has put him up to third in the standings on 100, ahead of Pato O'Ward and Colton Herter, who are on 97 points each, and then Nick de Vries and Felix Rosenqvist, who are on 94 points each. You get the feeling now that this season's League 2 champion will be coming out of those top 7 drivers, but with only 11 points between them, it could be any of them. This is going to be so exciting for the last part of the season. To finish off the top 10, Gabriele Mini 8th on 51, ahead of Daniel Kvyat in the Opel on 39, and Luke Browning in the Simtek. He's had a few races off, but is still 10th place on 36 points. As for the teams, their double podium has put Spiker into the lead. 202 points for Ben Hackeson's team, 4 ahead of Toyota, who dropped down into second. Ram Racing on third on 150, Prema on 133, and 40 Corsa on 124. Looking at the points as they stand, to me, it looks like the title will be between Spiker and Toyota, but then the final promotion spot between Ram, Prema and 40 Corsa. So 5 teams fighting it out to get those 3 promotion spots for next season. Looking down the rest of the points, Bimota KRT on 73, 51 points behind 40 Corsa. So I would say just about out of any realistic contention for promotion. Simtek are 7th on 69, ahead of Opel on 59, Mazda on 39 and Eindames on 29, and then Chip Ganassi, M Sports and Zach Speed still haven't climbed out those top 3 positions, but they will have a few more races to go yet. We now move on to League 1, and let's remind ourselves of what the drivers and team standings look like. Yuki Tsunoda leading the way in the drivers on 91 points, 10 ahead of his fellow Japanese driver Kamui Kobayashi on 81. Carl Kirkwood not too far behind on 78, ahead of his teammate Alex Palou on 68. Nick Tandy 5th in the Ducati on 64, just ahead of his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen, who's on 61. Hansen Guven 7th in the Lancia on 60, ahead of Raffaele Marcello on 54, Scott Dixon on 52 and Jamie Whincup on 48. Looking at the teams, Fomital 9 points clear of HRT, 155 over 146 points. Ducati 3rd on 125, ahead of Minardi on 106 and Lancia on 93. Arrows are 6th on 90 points, ahead of Force India on 77. Kuprikiro and Prost on 71 points each, ahead of Onyx on 60. And then in the relegation zone, and looking at the points difference here, I think well and truly in the relegation zone, BAR on 15, Jaguar on 12 and Carlin on 9. Those 3 teams are going to need some massive scores if they stand any chance of climbing out of those bottom 3 positions. Just like in League 2, we have no driver changes for today's League 1 race, so let's get straight to the qualifying results. And once again, Alex Palou is on pole position by almost a quarter of a second. He dominated qualifying for today's Anderstorp Grand Prix, and Brendan Hartley joins him on the front row. That's his first front row start of the season, a great job by him in qualifying. Carl Kirkwood 3rd in the second HRT, ahead of Felipe Nasr 4th in the Fomital. Scott Dixon puts both Arrows into the top 5, ahead of Hansen Guven in the Lancia. Will Power 7th in the Minardi, ahead of our championship leader Yuki Tsunoda. And then Kamui Kobayashi and Jamie Whincup line up 9th and 10th for today's race. Reigning champion Shane Van Gisbergen starts from 11th today. A bit of a disappointing one for Ducati in qualifying. They will look to move forward in the race. Alessio Rivera 12th in the Lancia, ahead of John-Eric Vernon in the Prost. Kalle Rovanperä 14th in the Kuprikiro, ahead of Ritomo Miata. Robin Freins, Kevin Estra, Nick Tandy and Tony Felix da Costa and Philip Hansen make up the rest of the top 20. And then at the back, Raffaele Marcello, Sebastian Buemi, who has a 10 place grid drop, so he will start from last today. And then Mitch Evans, Rafael Camara, and then the 2 Carlins of Stoffel van Dorn and Kevin Magnussen. We had plenty of battles going on in the League 2 race, and we hope for more of the same in the League 1 race. So let's get straight to it and hand back to Tom Cairns, ready to get this one going in the commentary box. So Tom, back to you.
Palou got it right back on track in Hockenheim with race victory. Can he make it 2 in a row and throw himself in the championship fight as we head towards the business end of the season? Lights are on. Lights off, it's go in Anderstorp. A good start from Palou. What about Kyle Kirkwood? Well, he's got ahead of Brendan Hartley, but there's a retirement already. It's Will Power who's been hit from behind, and it's Ray Topher already for the Australian. Going to see what had happened to the Minardi. And unfortunately for him, he didn't even get past the first 100 metres. It wasn't his teammate that ran into him, Kamui Kobayashi, because he's the next row behind, on the the same side as Power. It was self-destruct for Minardi. That is going to really displease Giacomo Pagliaro all the more. Power goes no further in the race, unfortunately. His rotten run of luck continues. But there's Kirkwood on Palou for the lead, and Kirkwood is through. And the consequence for Kobayashi is that he's been given a 30-second time penalty, a 10-place grid penalty for the next race in Mugello, and 6 penalty points on his licence. Now we need to see how many penalty points he's got, because I'm sure he's been involved in other collisions this season. He got involved in one in Sebring, and he came together with Mitch Evans. So he's now on 8 penalty points as the Japanese. But there is Kobayashi to the outside of Scott Dixon by the looks of things, and he's through. So good pass there from Kobayashi. He's got a lot of work to do between now and the checker flag. It's unlikely that he's going to pick up any points with that big penalty. Kirkwood leads. Palou second. It's Nasser, Sonoda, Hartley, Winkup, Guven, Van Gisbergen, Kobayashi and Dixon inside the top 10. And then we look at Van Gisbergen, hoping to run an end of bad luck at the moment by going ahead of Guven at turn number 4. Nasser hoping to say, oh, that's the rear wing gone on Sebastian Buemi's car. No. Was that because of the Force India that ran into him, or did he go off by himself? He went off by himself. Front wing and rear wing gone, and Buemi's season continues to go from bad to worse. And BAR are really staring down the barrel now. Sonoda fighting it out with his teammate, and in fact he's slowing. Sonoda's slowing. The championship leader on the second lap is slowing. Conveniently though, he's able to get that back to the pit lane. There'd have been a few expletives coming out of Ewan Gale's mouth for sure. His Vomitel team are really under threat in the championship. Not with Kobayashi's penalty in this race, but most certainly with Kyle Kirkwood going strongly here, as is Alex Palou. But Van Gisbergen finds his way past Jamie Winkup for position. I think Kobayashi's done the same with Guven. Headshot looking for 4 wins in a row. Something which I don't think has happened before in the Grand Prix World Series. Leighton House, Formatel, Minardi and HRT have all picked up 3 wins in a row each, at least once, but no team has won 4 times on the bounce. Now, if you're John Munro, you probably won't care which driver wins, just as long as they get to the end. Now it's Hansen and Estra swapping places. Now we look for Kobayashi on Winkup. So Kobayashi, who does have that penalty hanging over him, is trying to make up for lost time here and limit the damage as best as he can. But like I say, his chances of points are all but dashed. Have a look at the setups for each of the teams. Prost are the only team going for the maximum downforce setup, as well as Arrows actually, so 2 teams using the maximum downforce setup here in Anderstorp. The teams going for the mid downforce setup, they are BAR, Force India, Cooper Kiro, Jaguar and Lancia. Those going for neutral are Carlin, Minardi, HRT and Ducati. And those going for mid-top speed are Onyx, Fomitel, and that's it. So it's actually a variation of setups a lot of the teams have gone for this time around, which is interesting. That's Guven behind Winkup for position. Got Dixon and Rovanperä in there as well. Showing Vern up there in 11th place for Prost as well, along with Alessio Rivera and Nick Tandy for Ducati. Phil Hansen and Robin Freins are in the top 15. There we see Guven through on Winkup. Now we see Rovanperä in P10. Or P9 rather now, because he's gone by Dixon at turn 1. Then we see Nazar and Hartley. Same position. Now we look at Ito Miata, retired from his first race for Jaguar. There's a long way to go yet in this race, but as it stands, Kyle Kirkwood will be leading the championship. There's Kobayashi through on Van Gisbergen for 5th. Kobayashi clearly thinks he can get something out of this. We'll look at Rivera. He's chasing Dixon here. But instead, he's about to be passed by the Ducati of Nick Tandy. That's a move from Rovanperä on Winkup. I wonder if Winkup might be suffering an issue here because he's losing time all the while. 7 hour 57. The League 1 Anderstorp Grand Prix. 7 rounds to go after this one. See Van dropping behind Dixon in the order. Tandy attempts to go by at the last turn, but to no avail. We begin lap number 8. Kirkwood's lead over Pillow. It's just a couple of seconds. So what happened with the Toyotas in the League 2 race? HRT hope that the same fortune doesn't strike them. Winkup overtakes Rovanperä for 8th place. one retirement so far in this race. Willpower taken out at the beginning by his teammate Kamui Kobayashi. And then we look at Mitch Evans, whose Jaguar team are bound for an immediate return to League 2 for Season 7. Like a move from Rafa Kamara on Kevin Magnussen. Here we see Nasser and Hartley still fighting over P3. Costa on the tail of Kevin Estra for 16th position. Cup. The Hero being passed again by Robin Perra. What about Dixon? Is he close to going on through at the end of the pit straight? So he maybe attempts to go by for an overtake, but he doesn't do so at turn number 1. He holds back. There are the top 2. In a league of their own above the rest. Fomitel came into this only 9 points clear over HRT after both the cars failed to make the checker flag at Hockenheim. Chiazzi sit third, 30 points off the top. There's Minardi and Lancia and Arrows. Still realistically have a chance in the championship. Kobayashi has overtaken Hartley for 4th place. Now we've seen Tani head on by Alessio Rivera. Is Marcio locking up at turn number 2 there. Wasn't able to over that as though these best plays have gone back through on the Jaguar of Miata for 19th. Then we look at Polo in P2 chasing after Kirkwood for the lead. Takes Hansen for 14th. Also, upturning fortune as well. He did come away with some points at Hockenheim. Thanks to Raffaele Marcello, but they've not had the same level of form as they had earlier in the campaign. Particularly with that victory he picked up at Curitiba. There goes Evans on extra 4 position. And that's Kirkwood slowing down, and that's a loose wheel on the HRT. Can he get that back to the pit lane? He can. He can. Oh, very, very lucky there was Kyle Kirkwood from the lead. He'll be able to add some fuel in there. He'll tumble down the order for sure. That hands the lead over to his teammate Alex Palou. We see the race leader on lap number 13. Kirkwood is now towards the back of the field, but at least he's kept going in this race. And then we look at Rivera, who's slowing down, and he will not be as lucky as Kyle Kirkwood. He is out of the race again. After that brilliant podium position at Hockenheim, it's back to reality for him here in Anderstorp. So far in this race. It looks like Rafa Kamara struggling with the handling on his way into turn 1. There he is though. He's going way offline. Something is wrong with that VAR, but we'll see later. Kobayashi now going after Nasser for second place on the track. Of the setups from this. I've got mid top speed, nodding neutral, so that will help Nasser. And out of the race goes Rafa Kamara. It looks like he may have had an accident at turn number 3. Oh, we got nudged off the circuit actually by Kevin Magnussen. Now, I'm not sure there was a lot that Magnussen could have done about that. We'll have another look from his perspective. He's right on the racing line, in all honesty, is Kamara, so I wouldn't necessarily blame Magnussen for that. Game over for Rafa Kamara. The 3rd retirement of the race. As we see, Nasser and Kobayashi continue to tussle over P2. And in fact, for Magnussen, it's a 30-second time penalty, a 10 place grid drop, and 6 penalty points on his licence. And that is Kirkwood trying to make up for lost time. Closing in on Stoff Van Don, and that's a fire for Antonio Felix da Costa in the Prost. Coming over the line. And then we look at Vern, the only Prost driver left in the race now, getting by Jamie Whincup for 9th place. Well, Nasser is still holding up Kobayashi. Nasser, the mid-top speed setup, is really holding up the field. There goes Tandy on Whincup for 10th position, going up into the points. Ice below. Aiming for back-to-back wins, something he's never achieved before in his Grand Prix Series career. And now Kobayashi does eventually get by Felipe Nasr for second place. Kobayashi can now start to pull away from the pack. As Nick Tandy comes in from 10th position, as does Mitch Evans. Some consolation for Jaguar, who are expected to head back down to League 2 next season. That's 17 hour 57. Palou leads by over 5 seconds from Fumio Kobayashi, who has that 30-second time penalty hanging over him. As the race continues to develop, we'll start to see the gaps increase more and more and more. Kobayashi's time for his first pit stop has arrived. Brendan Hartley at the same time also. At Tsunoda, making the most of the Carlin. Oh, sorry. Oh, it runs wide, and he couldn't quite make it stick on that occasion. The systems that are happening right now are helping Palou stretch out the margin. The highest drivers to have pitted in this race is Brendan Hartley, who was able to get in front of Kobayashi in the stops. Or Kirkwood rather, because he had to come in with that electrical issue. They did put fuel in the car at the same time. Undercut is in place for Kirkwood to be ahead of Palou by the time the Spaniard does come in. Van Gisbergen is the latest driver to enter the pit lane for Ducati, the two drivers champion of last season. On his way into the pit lane, Brendan Hartley, his former teammate, moving through into P12. Phil Hansen in also for Onyx. Again, briefly, there's Robin Power, who has pitted in this race, hoping for more points after his decent first race for the Cooper Kiro team at Hockenheim. MC Guven in P3, yet to stop in this race. Really three-way fight into the penultimate turn there, involving Tandy of Van Gisbergen, Miata and Tsunoda. Tsunoda coming back through. It's up into 11th place, so Tsunoda coming back through the field very, very nicely. Because it was so early for his stop, he is bound to make 3 stops in this race, unless his intent initially was to make that one stop work. There's Kobayashi on Marcello for position. Brendan Hartley is closing in on Kevin Estre, who hasn't stopped yet in this race. It's time for a pit stop at HRT at the end of lap 20 for Alex Palou. Felipe Nasr, is he coming in at the same time? No, he's staying out there, so he leads the race for the time being. Ayuncu Guven is next to come in for Lancia. The only Lancia driver left in the race now. So Dixon goes up into second place and Kyle Kirkwood up into third. Next in for Force India. Chasing after Dixon for position. There they are, look. There goes Kobayashi on Estre for position. He's pulling off some brilliant overtakes in this race so far as Kobayashi. If it wasn't for that error he made with power at the start, he'd have been up there fighting for at least a podium. Kirkwood is not hanging around here with the extra straight line speed thanks to the setup that HRT have gone for. He's through into second position on circuit, which will now be the lead because Nasr is in for his first stop. So Kyle Kirkwood leads the League One Anderstorp Grand Prix on lap 22. So we look at all those cars in the picture. There's Carlin going into the pit, and that'll be Stoffel van Dorn. In P3, Dixon in P2, just ahead of him. There goes Hansen on Vern. P13, Hansen getting by for position. Looking for another point scored today. Low with the extra straight line speed goes by Scott Dixon. Go after Kirkwood for the lead, who's on considerably more worn tyres compared to his teammate. But HRT are on track for a fourth win in a row, which will be the first for any team in the Grand Prix series. That's Friends getting a double overtake done there on Jean-Eric Verne and Jamie Whincup. So now they're in for the second time in this race. There's 2.1 in the last centre involving Kirkwood and below. There they are, look. Ninth, in the end of the back straight. Lions are going to come away with more points in their first season in League One. And there are the two leaders of Kirkwood and Palou. There's Evans swapping places with Miata. It's for 14th. this time around. We shall see. And out goes Evans. That looks like a gearbox failure for the Jaguar pilot. And things aren't getting any better for Mike Smith or his team. There's Dixon in P3, Kobayashi P4. And that's an overtake from Palou on Kirkwood for the lead. On the fresher tyres, Palou goes back ahead of his teammate. And Kobayashi has got by Dixon at the same corner. Great pass there from Palou. As it stands with Kobayashi in third place, although he has that penalty which will drop him out of the points most certainly. Dixon has lost another place to the expense of Felipe Nasser. Dixon is continuing to struggle at the moment. And Nasser slows. Nasser has slowed in the Fomital. He will not get that back to the pit lane. Front suspension failure, or rear suspension failure I should say, has forced Nasser out of the race. Is the latest to go ahead of Scott Dixon. Dixon, I believe, has yet to stop in this race. It looks like he's trying to make the one-stop work. He's been passed now by Brandon Hartley. Kirkwood in second position. And about 7 seconds clear over Kamui Kobayashi. There's Magnussen in front of Van Dorn. 6 drivers out of the race so far: Felipe Nasser, Mitch Evans, Antonio Felix da Costa, Rafa Kamara, Alessio Rivera, and Will Power. Rito Miata running in 20th and last place in the Jaguar. Kobayashi getting the hammer down after getting by Nasser, despite being stuck behind him for so long. But it's irrelevant now with Nasser out of the race. Tsunoda running outside the top 15. Fomital not bound to score here, which will hand the advantage to HRT for sure. There is Sebastian Buemi, who completes BAR's day yet again by pulling out. There's a rear suspension failure again. BAR's run of 3 consecutive points finishes have ended here. We're looking at the HRT, now we're looking at Scott Dixon, who's chasing after I mentioned Gouvin, who's got by him a moment or so ago. And Palou's retired! From second place, or from the lead rather, Alex Palou has pulled out of the race! It's not going to be back-to-back wins for the Spaniard. Kyle Kirkwood goes back into the lead. Another dent and another twist in the championship race, both in the drivers and in the teams. Another retirement for Alex Below in his eventful campaign. And that promotes Kirkwood back into the lead. Kobayashi into second place on the road. And it's Van Gisbergen, Hartley, Guven, Rothenpera, Dixon, Tandy, Freins, Hansen and Wincott will move up into the points at the expense of Kobayashi. But it's going to change in a moment because Hartley's now in for his stop. I wonder if that's a premature second stop for Brendan Hartley because he did pit in around about 10 laps ago and now he's back in again. Not necessarily good news for the Arrows team as Dixon gets passed by Nick Tandy for P6. Hartley rejoins in 15th. Slowly but surely getting the gap down on Kirkwood, but he's not getting it down enough to threaten him for the lead. It's going to come down to the second and final stops. We could have a situation where Kobayashi wins the race and a penalty drops him back, which we saw before actually in Dijon-Bourgogne a few seasons back, where he overtook Scott Dixon, who came into the pits with a problem 1 lap to go, and then he passed O'Ward, who also suffered mechanical gremlins on the last lap. But Kobayashi's penalty for an unsafe rejoin dropped him back to P3. And Sonoda down the order in 14. Kobayashi potentially going to fall out of the points as well. Kirkwood has a chance to take over the championship lead with a third win in 4 races. There's still time in this race yet. As far as the team's championship is concerned, Felton Patel not on course to be scoring. HRT certainly are, at least ending with the pole position fast lap points. If the race was to finish it is now, HRT will be in the lead of the team's championship. Shane Van Gisbergen in P3. Scott Dixon finally comes in for what is expected to be his only stop of the race. Got a 4-car battle over P11. It's headed up by Kevin Estra. There's Brendan Hartley after his stop. That is Sonoda passing Estra for P11. Gap between Kirkwood and Kobayashi down to 2 seconds, just under. And Kobayashi started the race from 9th on the grid. And we look at Hansen overtaking the Ducati of Nick Tandy for P7. Can Onyx come away with points again? Miata at the back in 18th place. Virtually no hope of Jaguar staying in League One. We just have to try something to salvage anything from this campaign. Whether that'll be a podium finish or just a run of results. some hope again in League 2 for Season 7. Van Gisbergen in P3 ahead of Ayuncha Guven. Robin Vines, meanwhile, is in 6th place. Kirkwood and Kobayashi. The gap is now down to less than a second between the pair. We'll look at Marcello and Hartley for 13th. And Vern's engine has expired. It's just gone past pit entry as well. Prost are not going to be coming away with any points this time. Marcello will go through, as will Brendan Hartley. And Vern's race is going to end with him on the grass after half race distance. Short of that. And Kobayashi's taking over the lead from Kyle Kirkwood. We haven't seen it, but Kobayashi is now ahead. He probably did it over the penultimate turn, which is where Jean-Luc Verne is bound to pull off very, very shortly. Unless he can get that car back to the pit lane, which he won't do. And Jean-Luc Verne is out of the race. But in more important matters, Kamui Kobayashi is back into the lead over Kyle Kirkwood. On the road, at least, anyway. Can Kobayashi pull out enough of a margin to finish in the points? Van Gisbergen is closing in on Kirkwood. So Kirkwood maybe needs to think about when he's going to pit in for his final set of tyres and fuel. Now we see Kirkwood in 2nd place. No way Kobayashi will win this race with the penalty. It may be appealed by Giacomo Pagliaro, but I think with the way the incident happened, I don't see how Kobayashi's penalty will be overturned. Hartley passes Marcello at turn 1. Yuki Tsunoda's back into the points for Von Mattel. See how much Kobayashi's pulling out the gap on Kirkwood. It's 2.3 in set to 2. Watch as they go over the line. Watch that gap increase. It'll probably be something like 2.7. It's 2.4. Guven comes in for his last stop from 4th position. So potentially an undercut. Ryan Fiennes is in as well. In for Onyx. And that's Dixon passing Van Dorn for 14th. Gisbergen into the slipstream of Kyle Kirkwood. Heading through into P2 is the Kiwi. Kirkwood now down to P3. Andrew Govan rejoined in P11. Ahead of Frines, behind Raphael and Marcello. He won't want to be stuck in traffic. But he's going through on the Force India now. Slam dunk manoeuvre from the Turk. Looking for his first win in the Grand Prix series today. The 11th attempt. Chasing is Brendan Hartley, who's another 5 to 6 seconds up the road, or just under 5 seconds. The way Govan's going about his business, he could move into the lead for at least a brief period. And look at Jamie Winkup running in 6th place. Robin Perra up there in a strong 4th as well, but they've still yet to come in for their final stops. Kirkwood is now in. He wants something like 25 laps on the set of tyres that he did because he came in with that electrical issue. Hartley also in for Force India. Arrow, sorry. And it'll be that will follow suit. I don't think anyone else is pitting on that same lap. Kirkwood rejoins behind Marcello and he's more importantly behind Govan. Kelly Robin Perra is up to P3 in the Cooper Hero. Twice a race winner in the Grand Prix series is Kelly. Hasn't done it in League 1 yet. Won the opening round of the season courtesy of Jamie Winkup. There's Govan in 2nd position. Van Gisbergen in 2nd place. There is Govan. Going through on Van Gisbergen's teammate Nick Tandy. Decides the time is right for him to come in, and the same for Winkup. See Kobayashi in the lead from Gisbergen. So, ahead of Robin Perra. Snow's got himself back into 4th position. And Kobayashi, who's bound to stop again before this race is over. The penalty would only drop into P9. Of Govan is by Phil Hansen for 5th. There's no doubt that Govan's going to take over the lead here. I'm trying to mention as well is Scott Dixon, who's trying to make the one-stop work. He's in P10. It could be as high as P3 after all the stops are done. race leader. Surely must be considering pitting very, very soon. He's going to do so on this lap. Well, Guven gets the job done on Rovanperä at the end of the back straight. Van Gisbergen comes in at the same time as Kobayashi, as is Sonoda, as is Rovanperä. With 17 laps to go, Ayunjin Guven leads the League 1 Anderstorp Grand Prix. In second place is Kyle Kirkwood, and Kobayashi will get out ahead of Robin Friends and Scott Dixon. The battle for the race win is well and truly on now, with 17 laps remaining. Now Kirkwood came in at least one lap after Guven, but Kobayashi stayed out at least 3 or 4 laps longer, and he's going to have the advantage with the tyres. Back straight comes the Minardi. Looking to the race leader Arlance, going to celebrate their first win in League 1. They won in League 2 last season with Yifi, Campo Grande. Is Ayunjin Guven going to become the 16th different race winner this season? Kobayashi's doing his best to make sure that doesn't happen, but with running a little bit too deep in turn 1, that won't particularly help. So the situation in the championship is concerned. Kobayashi's time penalty will drop him out of the points. Sonoda is outside the points in P11, but with on fresher tyres, he should get back into the points. Rovanperä behind Estra. Binkley's on the one stop in this race. He's holding up Rovanperä. Sonoda, who's overtaken Tandy. Van Gisbergen, who's just made his stop as well. There is Guven, and there is Kirkwood going through the last corner. Kobayashi not too far back. Sonoda not quite through on the Kupakiro. The Kupakiro of Rovanperä going by Kevin Estra for P8. So 2 Kupakiros are in the top 8 now, with Whincup in 7th. See. Ayunjin Guven. Might be Kyle Kirkwood actually looking at the rear wing there. 1.4 seconds in sector 2. You'll see an updated gap. It's now 1.2 seconds, so it's coming down. Kobayashi's got the gap down to 3.2 between himself and the leader. Nice Tandy. Having it out with Estra, wasn't able to go through that time around. That's opened the door for Hansen to go through instead. As it stands, Kobayashi will drop to 13th position with his penalty. So he needs to get by both Kirkwood and Guven and then pull out a margin. Kirkwood has got the gap down to a second on Guven. And we'll see Hansen by Estra for position for P11. You can see the top 3 all in your picture. Guven, Kirkwood and Kobayashi. Kirkwood locks up at turn 1 but gets away with it. He's probably thinking about the back straight next time around to overtake the Lancia. Kobayashi is close now as well. That is Tandy. Good job done on Kevin Estra at turn 1. That's a good pass from the Ducati. Close to the top 3 now. Well, surely Kirkwood has to be on the gearbox, and he is on the gearbox of the Lancia here. For the lead of the League 1 Anderstorp Grand Prix, Kyle Kirkwood round the outside of the Lancia. Does he pull it off? Guven just holds on for now. Kirkwood may have another go on the pit straight. Here they come. Is Kirkwood close enough to have a go? On the inside goes the HRT. Kyle Kirkwood takes back the lead of the League 1 Anderstorp Grand Prix on lap 46. HRT are on track for 4 wins in a row. Guven just didn't have the tyres to hold him back. Now it's Kirkwood's race to lose here, you would think. See Kirkwood, Guven and Kobayashi coming through. Turn number 6. Doing his best to go after Van Gisbergen at the moment. We've seen the drama in the last half a dozen laps in the E2 race earlier. And Kobayashi looks like he's got the move done on Guven, and he has got by him. That would have been over at turn 1, so Kobayashi through to 2nd place on the road. He's going quicker than Kirkwood. Looking at the setups as well between HRT and Minardi, they've both got the same setup as each other. That's Hartley swapping positions with Dixon for 5th. Dixon's going to find it tough, I think, to hold on to a point scoring position between now and the end. How close is Kimiri to Kyle? Think of it, they're coming towards back markers now. That must be Kevin Magnussen, who has had another day to forget. He has that penalty as well to add to that. To go, just 10 remaining in this race. It stands Kyle Kirkwood will be leading the championship. He will move on to 104 points. Kobayashi, with his penalty, he will drop. Moment, I think, to 12th place. So he won't be scoring. Yuki Tsunoda, who's in 8th position. He's only going to get 4 Well, he'll pick up 7th because of Kobayashi's penalty. Tsunoda will be on 97. Kirkwood will be in the lead as it stands by 7 points. And there is Whincup with Dixon, and Whincup has passed Dixon. And Van Gisbergen has overtaken Robert Perro at the same time. Kobayashi going for it on Kirkwood for the lead on the road, and Kobayashi's passed him. Kobayashi has passed Kirkwood on lap 49. And there's going to be damage limitation time to see if he can actually stay in the points. All Kirkwood needs to do is just stay with him. Championship. HLT will take over leadership. We're on 173 points. As we see Tsunoda have it out with Dixon. I'll come back to the championship in a moment because I think Tsunoda is bound to get by Dixon very, very shortly. And he's done it there. So Tsunoda is effectively up to P6. Which will put Fomitel on 163. HLT will still be ahead by 10 points. Ducati have got Van Gisbergen only in the points. Just 2 championship points coming away for them. Minardi are not on the verge of scoring. Lancia are on course to get 18 championship points courtesy of Guven. And Arrows have had an okay day, I suppose. Keep the Kiro look like getting both their cars in the points. So there's Kirkwood, who's left Kobayashi to just shoot off into the distance now. Van Gisbergen on Dixon. He's through. What about Robin Perrott? Doesn't go through that time. I think Tandy's slowing on the back straight as well. I thought I saw Tandy pull to the side. We'll come to that in a moment. But there is Robin Perrott. Yeah, I think Tandy's pulled out actually. I'm sure Tandy's got a problem. Hansen's ahead of Tandy, but Tandy's not pulled to the side. I'll take my word back for it. But there's Robin Perrott passing Dixon for P9 on circuit, which, as it stands, will become P8. Phil Hansen, who's running in P11, will be promoted up into the points at the expense of Kobayashi. It could all change in the last 7 laps of this. Tsunoda is doing his best to stay in the championship lead. So he chases after Jamie Whincup. As is Brendan Hartley with Robin Frines. And there's Dixon being passed by Hansen. And Hansen goes up into the points on the road. Kobayashi as it stands. I think he's ahead of Tandy just about, so he'll finish in P11. He's lapped Kevin Magnussen on the circuit. Brendan Hartley should be bound to overtake Frines very shortly. Kirkwood again, over 3 seconds behind Kobayashi. He won't be worrying about that right now. 5 laps to go here in Anderstorp. Yoshi's victory will be taken away again thanks to a penalty, which we have seen before. Kirkwood, second position behind the Carlin. It's a lap. Now, Kobayashi's penalty will drop into P10. We're on course for a championship point after all. One more than that. Spirited drive. Will we see any more twists here again? Or is it all but done and dusted? Wink up. It's the latest to head on through. With 4 laps left. And Van Dorn is just desperate to get to the end of this one. It looks like Carlin are going to get both of their drivers to the end of the race. For the second time in 3 outings. Wonder what Perry Brown will be thinking at this point in the campaign. Sonoda. Kirkwood on course to make it 4 wins in a row for HRT, becoming the first team to do so in the history of the Grand Prix series. Engine Guvin is going to pick up Lance's second podium in a row. It'll be their 4th this season. And we see Kamui Kobayashi has just lapped his compatriot with Tomo Miyata. Close in the end, and so as it stands, he's looking at P10. Well, Van Gisbergen aims to get by Brendan Hartley at the end of the back straight. As he managed to do it, he has. That's an overtake, and we've got a pit stop for Engine Guvin. It's a loose wheel on the Lancia. Horrible luck for Chris Cavani's team. And he's going to fall out of the points. At least that'll help Kamui Kobayashi a little bit. But now you can see Van Gisbergen continuing his charge. Sonoda's up into P3 now. As it stands, he's going to stay in the championship lead. As Robin Fines continues to tumble down. And then we look at Rafael Marcello, who goes for a spin. He keeps it out of the wall. He's lost the position at the expense of Guvin. Final lap of the race for Kamui Kobayashi, but it's Kyle Kirkwood who is set for his 4th win of the season. Tsunoda potentially on course for 2nd place once the penalty's been applied to Kobayashi. He will remain in the championship lead. And with Von Mittel getting that 2nd place finish, that will just about keep them ahead. Although with HRT's 5 victories to Von Mittel's 1, they will be ahead on countback. But there is the man in your picture who's driven beautifully today, but that mistake at the beginning with willpower will cost him victory and dropping down as it stands to 9th position. Kamui Kobayashi goes through the last corner for the final time in this race. He heads over the line first, but it's Kyle Kirkwood who's going to head over the line and become the winner of the League One Anderstorp Grand Prix. HRT make it 4 in a row. Yuki Tsunoda crosses over the line in 2nd position. His rookie campaign continues to go from strength to strength. Shane van Gisbergen returns to the podium in 3rd place. Robin Fines will be promoted to 4th. Kelly Rothenpera 5th, ahead of Brendan Hartley. Jamie Whincup and Phil Hansen will be promoted to 7th and 8th. Kobayashi down to 9th with his penalty. Nick Tandy takes the final point in 10th place. Guven does not get the point for the fast start, so no points for Lancia. Kevin Estre 14th, and Stoffel Van Dorn will be the last driver on the lead lap in 15th position. It's a win for Kyle Kirkwood, who moves up into 2nd place in the championship. A terrific result again for HRT. Yuki Tsunoda 2nd, keeping himself in the championship lead. Shane van Gisbergen in 3rd place for Ducati. Robin Fines 4th. Kelly Rothenpera in a strong 5th for Cooper Kiro. Brendan Hartley 6th. Jamie Whincup 7th. Phil Hansen in 8th. Kobayashi in 9th position with the time penalty. The final point going in the way of the Ducati of Nick Tandy. Andrew Guven 11th after having to pit in for a loose wheel. Scott Dixon 12th, Rafael Marcello in 13th place over Kevin Estre and Stoffel Van Dorn. Ritoyo Miata and Kevin Magnussen a lap down with the last to finish. Sean O'Verne retired. Alex Palou stopped out from the lead as well. Sebastian Buemi retiring again with suspension problems. Felipe Nasser, Mitch Evans, Antonio Felix Acosta, Rafa Kamara, Alessio Rivera and Will Power were those not to finish. The point for pole position going to Alex Palou. The point for the fast start going to Kyle Kirkwood. A brilliant race again. Tsunoda's electrical problems looked like it pulled him out, but he kept going to the end to make it into 2nd place. Kobayashi's time penalty had cost him dear. He could have been in the championship lead had it not been for that, but as it was, it's just 2 points instead of 25. Kyle Kirkwood's win, as a result, moves him up into 2nd place. It's now 4 wins in a row, or 4 wins this season, and 4 wins in a row for HRT, becoming the first team in Grand Prix Series history to achieve just that. In the team's championship, it's now a tie at the top, involving Von Mittel and HRT, but with 5 wins to Von Mittel's 1, it's HRT who head over ahead of the others. It's really hot up heading into Mugello. It's time to run down on the League One Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith, and I'll see you for the next round at the Grand Prix of Europe in Mugello in 2 weeks' time. Topher, over to you.
Well, some controversy in that race. Kamui Kobayashi crosses the line first, but a 30-second time penalty for taking out his own teammate dropped him down the order into 9th place and hands a 4th win of the season to Kyle Kirkwood, who is well and truly into this championship battle now. Very interesting race there was, a lot going on, but what has this done to the drivers and team standings? Let's find out now. Yuki Tsunoda still holds on to the lead in the driver's standings with that 2nd place finish. 109 points for the Japanese driver, 5 ahead of Kyle Kirkwood, who moves up into 2nd with his victory here today. Kamui Kobayashi losing 23 points as a result of that penalty. He is 3rd on the standings on 83. Shane van Gisbergen 4th on 76 ahead of Alex Palou on 69. Nick Tandy 6th in the 2nd Ducati on 65 ahead of Hanshin Guven in the Lancia on 60. And then Jamie Whincup on 54, Raffaele Marcello also on 54, and Scott Dixon propping up the top 10 on 52. And in the teams, HRT and Fomital are deadlocked, 173 points each. HRT only ahead by virtue of having more victories so far this season. Ducati third on 141 ahead of Minardi on 108. Arrows fifth on 98 ahead of Lancia on 93. Force India on 89. Cupra Kiro on 87. Prost on 71 and Onyx on 64. And then our relegation zone contenders BAR, Jaguar and Colin, none of them scoring any points today. And time is running out for them to get themselves back onto the scoreboard and out of that relegation zone. There are still a few more opportunities, but it is looking less likely that they will be in League One next season. Let's see how the rest of this campaign goes. We can't wait to see how it all transpires. But for today, that is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is always a pleasure to have your company. And next time we will have the Grand Prix of Europe, which will be brought to you from the Mugello circuit in Italy. Until then, thank you for tuning in. I'm Topher Smith. Take care.